education or college education isn't required, and you don't have to do it. So they want people to be ready with all of their education by the time they finish high school, which is only when they're 18 or 17 years old. So high school is much harder than the past levels. With college education and post-secondary education, it goes much higher than the high school levels. And for many jobs, it is a requirement, and it is normal to go into a college education. So it is kind of expected, or most people do.
Okay, Nathan, what is your maybe favorite school subjects?
I enjoy math, mostly in history and science, but yeah, I enjoy those the most. It's not the best to learn in my school, math and science, but I enjoy those classes the most.
Okay, and what does it mean a science subject in USA? What do you learn?
So we learn by science group. So last year I did chemistry. This year I'm doing physics, and before I did biology. So it's those three mostly.
Okay, I understand you, because in Ukrainian school we have the separate subjects, I mean chemistry, and the separate biology. That's why I asked you, what does it mean, science subject? Yes, it's pretty nice. And one question for me, because I'm really interested too. I've heard about gap year after school before you enter the university. Is it real in USA?
It is. A good amount of people do a gap year after they finish high school to go out, to travel, to go to other countries, and to know if they really want to do college. But what happens a lot is that people finish high school, they go on a gap year, and they travel to all these amazing places, and they have such a great time that they don't want to go back to school and sit in school for another 4 years. So they don't go back to school, and a lot of people finish there, which is fine. But yeah, it is something that a good amount of people do, and it's just funny that they don't go back to school after. So it's just not even a gap year.
Okay, maybe they understand how the life is going on, how all affairs works, and after that think, oh, I don't need it, maybe I will think one more time. Yes, okay, because in Ukraine, it's not so common when you can just spend just a whole year to understand, okay, how some may be professional, some jobs, how you can, what duties you will have doing that or something like that. That's why we understand ending the school and go to more to university. College for us is more suitable go after the 9th class. It's more for us suitable. After 11th grade or class, we go to universities. Okay, guys, I've just asked Nathan something in which I'm interested in, but maybe you have asked. Do you want to ask something about school system? Maybe you have some stereotypes. Please, Carolina.
Yeah, hello. I would like to ask about colleges. As Alina said, it's not really common to go to enter these colleges after 11th grade. But I'm really interested if it's common in the USA. So probably it gives some benefits, and you might get like the same job as you as after graduating the university, or probably you can just describe the difference between entering the college or the university, and what do you think is much better to choose in the USA? Thank you.
Yeah, so most people do go into college after they finish high school, and in the USA, many jobs do require a college degree, or that you finish 4 years of college to get the job, and those tend to be the higher paying jobs. So most people take the time to study something for 4 years and then do a job. One thing to be careful about if people take that route is some American schools can cost like $80,000 a year in tuition to attend, and so people live with a lot of debt for much of their life, and so it doesn't really make the job worth it if they have to pay off so much debt. But most people do attend a college. Yeah, and their access to jobs is much different, much better than if they didn't.
It's pretty nice. So if I understand, the colleges have more benefits for your knowledge and skills for future jobs than university?
Oh, well, colleges in America are actually part of universities. So it's a bit confusing, but if there's one university, then they have 4 colleges within the university. So inside of the university, they're colleges. It's a bit confusing, but universities are just a group of colleges in America, at least.
It means such a word campus, or not the same?
Yeah, so campus is it's the actual physical university. So it's the buildings, it's all the parks, libraries. That's the campus.
Okay, because I know it's the main such parts or our knowledge and some stereotypes about university and colleges. That's why it's really interesting. Carolina, thanks for your questions. Maybe we have one more about this system. We go further, of course, to more real examples, but maybe there. No, I guess Nathan give us the whole explanation. Great.
Out of my interest is so what's the difference between Ukrainian university and college? Is it different learning there?
Okay, guys, who can share experience of Ukrainian university? I can, because for instance, I graduated from university on June this year, and I finally have my bachelor degree. And what can I say about our university system? It definitely another system, because maybe from the one hand, unfortunately, our system more based for theory, not from a practical skills. Practical skills based on your desires to get it. But our university, unfortunately, based more on theory. And when we just talk about some practical studies or jobs, I mean engineering, unfortunately, we have the same, more theory than practice. It's difficult to explain in maybe correct way, but unfortunately we have such a picture. From the other hand, I can't say that our system is so poor or we don't have enough theoretical or information which I, for instance, need from my future job or just from my life. No, that's enough. It's more depends on your attitude to study and to just education process. If you want to study, if you want to get some knowledge and skills, you can do it. If you don't do it, you can just get diploma. Just this, I mean, sheet of paper where you signed as you end such university. Yes, Nathan, it's our reality. I just want to show you the more close to real our picture of education. Maybe somebody else has the experience from our universities and you can share it, because it's just my experience. I can't complain about our system so exactly, but we have some problems and issues. Guys, who maybe studied university, maybe ended to graduate it, or just plan? I know that there we have a lot of students who left the school this year. And now you are ready to choose one of the university, of course, mainly in Ukraine. So can you share with us your experience, how you choose this university? What is your benefits or advantages and disadvantages? It's difficult to talk about universities. No one idea. Okay, Nathan, I guess they can share more interesting stories or some other ideas when we go to talk about our tests and exams, because there we have such another great reason And yes, our universities, we can't complain, but we have some issues what to deal with for our further. Okay, go further. We have seen such importance about study process. I think we too described in the previous our conversation. I just want to show you, Nathan, is it real picture from school and places from USA?
I think so, but I think that'd be somewhere in like the Midwest, like kind of in like Texas. It looks like a school because it looks kind of boring. It might. I don't know, that picture. Other schools, I think they have like more stuff on. I don't know. It does look similar, that photo.
Okay, but you have such apart desks for each student, yes?
Yeah, some classes, yeah.
Yeah, because in our schools we have to sit with someone else in one from one desk. That's why I ask you. Okay, and of course maybe it will be stereotypes from some films or series about these yellow buses. Are they real?
Yeah, definitely.
I expect yes, because it's not just our stereotypes. Okay, there are one more explanation if you are interested in more how this system divided into grades and schools, just for your knowledge, guys. So we will not stop there. And Nathan, I want to hear, and our participants too, more about your experience, how you now choose, I don't know, attend, understand which university you want to enter the university, and I know you start with Stanford.
Yeah, so Stanford's it's a good school in the United States. It's ranked well, I think, kind of towards the top of the list of schools. It's a very nice school because the weather is very nice, first off. No, not that that's as big of a deal, but it has a lot of interest because compared to other schools, Stanford has, has gigantic libraries. It has like books that you can't even see the end of. And it's very interesting because they focus a lot on learning, as you said, Alina, not learning necessarily like engineering skills or how to do stuff with your hands, but more theoretical things, which are very interesting.
I just give this video in the background for your speech, just to understand people how it looks like, where students go around. And Nathan, if it's suitable for you, you can go on with your speech. It's just to entertain participants at the same time.
Yeah, so the school is known for, I think, the people that went there. I don't know the full list, but a lot of like people that I think helped create Apple went there. Some other very big companies, Google, they went to the school because the school does a lot to help students do what they want to do and like inspire them to do what they want to do, which is very cool, very interesting. Yeah, as you can see, the school looks very Californian. It has a lot of the palm trees in the buildings. There's actually a very interesting history behind the school. This family, it was this husband and wife, and they had one child, but the child passed away at like 16, and they decided to build this entire school and spend almost all of their money building this school so it could be a gift to their child. It could be the gift to children of the world, so as if they had their own children attending the school. Very interesting, and that's a very big part of the school.
Yes, it's like a really great story for such educational entity with such a legitimate idea. Okay, and Nathan, have you some advantages and disadvantages for you from Stanford?
Advantages is how much there is to learn about. Like I said, the books, and also the teachers are some of the best from the world, I'm sure. Disadvantages, I think I still have to get into the school. It is very hard to get into it. I think they only accept like 1,000 people of 100,000 people that apply, or like 90,000 people that apply. They only accept 1,000. Other disadvantage, I think, is the cost, because Stanford is a private school. It costs, like I said before, like a lot of other American schools, they cost, I think, like $80,000 a year. Hopefully I would get some financial aid to help with the cost, but it is very expensive. But California has other options with public schools, so government schools. I also went to one, UC Berkeley, if it's part of the lecture.
It will be our next.
Yeah.
Is it correct picture? I really will
Yeah.
ask you. Yes, thanks. Okay. What about this one?
So UC Berkeley, it's part of the University of California system. So the University of California is a public school system. So by public, it means that it's funded by the government. And that means that it doesn't have to profit like private schools do to keep up, the campus and to pay its teachers. So the cost that it is to attend is much less. I think it's still on the higher end, but Berkeley, I think, is 15,000 a year to attend compared to 80,000 for some private schools. So very big difference. But yeah, UC Berkeley is public, and it's similar to other private schools. Actually, UC Berkeley is known for kind of being the second best option to Stanford. It also has like good libraries. There's a lot of focus on the sciences, and the school has also made like a lot of very big achievements with the people that went there, and the inventions that they had, the companies that they created that have like a major impact now. I think when I went there, they told us that the school has added 14 elements, the periodic table of elements. I don't know if they teach it with some other name in Ukraine. Do they, Elia? The periodic table of elements?
Yes.
Yeah, so they added, I think, like 14 elements to the periodic table. They discovered them. And it's, yeah, very incredible what they do.
Okay, there I have some pictures from the Berkeley. Of course, we try to stand for Ukraine. I know more examples, and I know one more. I try to find from Berkeley more like excursion.
Look like a beautiful place.
It is. In the geography, both of these schools are in Northern California, so it's a much different climate from the desert, like in Southern California. So it's actually very similar to the Ukrainian climate. So a lot of trees, a lot of green, grass, trees, lots of flowers too, and animals.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful.
I love it. Okay, nice.
Yes, and I too want to admit that it is real great benefit for each colleges and universities, which I seen previously, that they have such great large park zone, green zone, where students really can sit, can relax for some short break or long break. That is real great, because not all our universities can be proved for such green zone. They mostly located on some center in the city center, and where there will be a lot of traffic, so a lot of such another duties, but not about this really comfortable place for students just for grade. That's a real benefit. Okay, is there one more? Excursion during Berkeley. And Nathan, you said that there is private school and colleges and public. We have the same, but what is the real benefit, for instance, for private? They are really common for our case century and our years. Is there any benefits?
Well, to many, public and private is almost the same. So especially within the University of California schools, so like Berkeley, and it also has like UCLA and I think like 7 other schools, they try and be as close to a private school as possible. So they invest a lot. They spend a lot of money building their libraries and building and having very good teachers that private schools can have. But I think one major difference is kind of the facilities of the school. So you immediately walk into Berkeley and you see like it's a city campus. It's very nice, but you know, like private schools like Stanford, they're fully clean, they're fully equipped, they have like the newest things, while a school like Berkeley might not, even though it's very nice. It just doesn't have the money for some things, I believe. But they're both very nice options. I think there's very minimal difference between them. And honestly, if you didn't take a close look, you wouldn't see a difference between the public and private schools. Most of them, at least.
Okay, I get it. Yes, there is other buildings. Okay, and as I understand, for this time, Nathan, you just attend these universities and compare with benefits, with such their suggestions, okay, what they can show for students for you. And how, for instance, in Ukraine, how it's going on? We can just view some information about university due to websites. We have such day like open days in university when you can come in here and see some places, some lectures hall, maybe to library we will go, and you can ask some professions or some other lecturers some notes or information about university. How is it in the USA? How you attend this university?
So for visiting the university?
Yes.
Yeah, so visiting that university is very similar. You kind of just walk around the school and see what it has. So you look at the buildings, you look at the libraries. You don't really talk to professors because most of the time they're busy with classes, but you look at what the school looks like and what it's like being a student there. So very similar to what it is with looking at schools in Ukraine.
Okay, we have the same approach to such part of okay, of trying to entertain and to get more students. Okay, and guys, maybe you have some more questions about higher education, about this part of life, and then we will talk something about remote education before. Yes, Carolina.
Okay. What justifies such a high cost of education? Is it all about the quality?
Well, quality is very similar. I find throughout public and private schools, or most of the time, it is very similar. But at least in California, with California's public schools, because I forgot to mention this, but each state has its own public school system. So, if you're not a resident of California, then UC Berkeley, instead of costing you $15,000, it would cost you, I think, $60,000. So you're still paying for private school, even though you're going to public school. So for some people that live in states that don't have the best public schools, there's not really much difference in cost between going to private school and going to public school. that are both good schools, if that makes sense. For others, like within California that don't go to a public school, they mostly go to private schools because they want a different education. They want like a different name of school, because to a lot of people and to a lot of jobs, especially, the way your school looks like and its prestige, so the way people think about the school matters. So they pay more to go to a private school that might sound like it's, you know, that you're smarter, that you're I don't know, more experienced because you went there. Another reason could be that, actually, surprisingly, I think it's much different in Ukraine, but you can correct me. Public schools, at least the University of California schools, they're very hard to get into. So I think their acceptance rate is only 8 to 10%. So 8 to 10% of people that apply get in, and the other 90% don't get in. So their only other option is to go to a private school if they do want to attend college.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Okay, so the next will be Carolina, and after Carolina will be Ruslan.
Okay. It's really windy. So I wanted to ask a couple of questions, like, is it really expensive to enter like these universities? And I noticed that you call them like schools. So what is the difference? Like, how to understand it? Like, they are not the universities or what? And also, if you want, is it possible to get a scholarship to study here for free or no?
Yeah. Okay, so your first question on the cost that it is to attend. Private schools, I think, are between $40,000 and $90,000 a year. And so for 4 years, that's either, you know, $160,000 to $400,000 to attend the school and pay tuition, which is a lot of money. But public schools can be anywhere from 3,000 to, I believe, around 15,000. So drastically less, like a tenth of the price. And it's very similar education most of the time. Some public schools even are for free. I think it's much easier to go to a public school for free. For the scholarships, every single school in America offers a scholarship. I think private universities are very good with giving full scholarships. So that means they pay for you to attend the school. They also pay for your food that you eat for your entire 4 years. They pay for where you live. And a lot of the time, scholarships aren't based on your knowledge, like your intelligence, but they're more based on your experience. So like what you can add to the school. So a lot of times the scholarships go to people that really need it, instead of people that, you know, are naturally smart, which is, I think, very good for the people, yeah, that need the financial support. I think there's always a possibility everywhere at every single school to get scholarships, and I'd say for you, just try it, and I would think that they'd love to accept you on a scholarship too.
Carolina, is it all?
Yeah, if it's possible, I also would like to ask, like, I've noticed that some universities, they pay more attention to those students who are experienced in science, like they are connected with it, are into it. But for example, if I like languages, so is it also possible for me to get a scholarship and to find the place between those students? And what does this university universities like exactly need to enter them. For example, in Ukraine, we have to pass final exams. And then Alina knows better what to do because I'm studying at school yet, and I'm on this process of future entering the university, and I'm really interested what do they need. And as you said it, that they appreciate your experience, so like it's possible to list like my achievements that I'm active, for example, in civic life in my community like this, and then here is more chances I will get this scholarship, or how does it work?
Yeah, also I realized that I forgot to answer your last question on the difference between schools. So I'll quickly do that because it's it'll make the other question a bit more simple to understand. So when I say schools instead of universities, by schools I mean colleges. So within one university, there are a lot of there can be as many colleges as the university wants. So there would be like a college or school of chemistry, a college of engineering, and a college of language or a school of language. So within this university, there are these other sections or other schools. So when you're applying to a university, most of the time you're applying to one of these schools. So depending on the school that you apply to, if you're applying to something like, you say, languages, they wouldn't really take into consider your test scores. And even since COVID, most schools don't require test scores to be sent in. And some schools, like the University of California schools, don't look at test scores at all. So they only look at who you are based on what you write. So there's no worry about that part of your academic life. I'd say for most schools, it's really who you are, which I think is better than just looking at test scores and grades, because they do look at your grades throughout school, but they really care mostly about who you are. So when you're applying to most of these colleges, that's what they're looking at instead of mostly your academics. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, Ruslan, you can ask.
Carolina already said about our final exam after 11th grade, but and your life depends on mark of this exam final, because some universities have a minimum that you cannot to learn in this university with a mark lower than minimum. And in some private schools, if you get a high mark on this final exam, you can study for free, and government will pay for your education. And how does it work in USA with exams and pay, and the government paying for education?
Yeah, so there in America, as I said, since COVID, most universities don't require any tests. So, but they will look at your grades, but if your grades are good, then there's nothing to worry about. So they used to have those types of entry tests. So it was called the SAT and the ACT, but now they say that you don't have to submit those scores. So what you do on those tests really doesn't have that much impact on your application to that school. Some schools, like I told Carolina, are, especially the public schools, they actually say, no, you can't submit your test scores at all. So they don't look at them at all. They're blind to it. They say that they're test blind. with government funding for education, I think that there are two types. So there's one based on merits or based on your capabilities. So that's where they look at your grades and they look at your academic performance to give you a scholarship. But I think the bigger scholarships, and it's not just the government giving scholarships, it's also the schools themselves. They don't look at really your grades, but they look at your experiences. So they look at where you came from, your family life, the schools that you went to, the country you lived in, and they say if they really want you, and they know that if the cost of attending the school is going to be a problem for you, then they give a lot of scholarships. I think some schools some schools make the promise, including like Stanford and other private schools, that 100% of the kids that need financial assistance get financial assistance. So if you demonstrate that with, I guess, your life before school, they will gladly pay for you to come to the school. So it's much less restrictive in America.
This is what I love education in America more than Ukrainian. We have old education, I think.
Yeah, they are more open to education, or from what I can see.
Yes, and for instance, to the speech of Ruslan, I want to add that for the previous year, we have external dependent evaluation. I will show you, Nathan, how we name it and how it is looks like. And it's really our opportunity to get with scholarship to university or college depends on the mark or point from this evaluation, just from it. And finally, just for this year, we have such opportunity as motivational letter, where all students who want to enter to the university can describe their real experience, achievements, some goals, some maybe activities where they were involved during school, and real express why they want to enter such university, why they want to study such subject, such job, or such duties. And I guess it will be more correct to evaluate, I know how to say, more students' ability and desires. Not just, okay, they are better on the Ukrainian language, or maybe they are better on math, and maybe he or she will be good at mathematics and engineering, or just like that. It doesn't depend just on it. The more examples I know at the previous lesson when students were nervous and they made a lot of real full mistakes during this evaluation, just like that. For the previous, for instance, I passed external dependent evaluation, and my year was the first when to English exam added listening part. It was really tricky for us for the first time. For the later time, we will talk about that. For this year, we have national multi-test. This test is combined from 3 subjects: Ukrainian language, history of Ukraine, and math. And after that, students send one more motivational letter where they describe why they want to enter such university. We will see how it will be work for further, okay, such period, and maybe it will be changed. Okay, have we more questions? I don't see raising hands. Okay, let's go further. I know that somebody are interested in such a part of our life, like remote education when we stay at home during quarantine, unfortunately. And yes, we all know that we all start our work with Zoom. It's the first the first tool due to which we keep our studying process on the basics level, because we don't know how it really works, how teachers can examine us, can control us, and just like that. But Zoom is the main idea. Then we become accustomed with Google Meet, but it's more rare, it's more suitable for university. Of course, Google Classroom. I guess all our students which really experience such tool for studying, just feel yourself just bored for it, because Google Classroom, it's our way to communicate with teacher. So Nathan, how you can tell us about your experience during such remote education?
Yeah, so they use the same platforms. Google Classroom was used, mostly Zoom from my school. My school, it was, I think, very disorganized for the year that we spent in quarantine doing virtual school. They had classes throughout the morning and then into, I think they ended at like 1 p.m. So it was a much shorter school day. I think only like 4 or 5 hours. Most kids, you know, you can tell that they were in bed. They had their cameras off. They weren't saying anything. They were just in bed, whatever, probably sleeping during class. Because there's no way of the teacher knowing anything else, I guess. But yeah, remote education, I think many kids got very used to it, which is very, I think, bad, because they spent almost like a year and a half doing remote education. A lot of kids, when schools reopened, my school at least, they gave the option to stay online. So they didn't require kids to go back to school. And so even today, a lot of kids are still doing remote education, and they're still, you know, barely doing their class. They're still sleeping during their class with their cameras off or whatever. And they're not getting the full education that they need for high school or to go into their life. So I think it did like a bit more bad than it did good, but of course, the world needed remote education during quarantine.
Yes, and I can say and add that remote education gave us more opportunity to get some extra skills and knowledge, because just from my own experience, I can attend such activities which are located in other cities in Ukraine. Just in Kyiv, for instance, it's just maybe, I don't exactly remember, 400 kilometers from my city, but it was problem for me, just arrive there for 1 or 2 weeks and spend this time. But with these tools, I can really attend it and get my real, some unique skills and knowledge. I know that some other students also use it in such ways. And of course, I can say that students cannot just sleep under this ton of camera. We can do anything more during such a remote education, because yeah, we don't have enough, I don't know, inspiration, enough vibes of all these education and school or university circumstances. You have to wake up so early, you have to go to such buildings and spend their times. And yes, for the previous time, we often we refuse to do it, okay, we complain of it. But to be honest, it's really so great to spend such time in this way. And yes, we have some advantages for remote educations, and of course it's a great disadvantage for remote education, that we don't have enough face-to-face communication. It's really a great disadvantage for remote education. Okay, I see Timothy raise his hand, and maybe he wants.
Yeah, but he answered my question, so I don't want to say nothing.
Maybe you want to say about your experience.
No, but okay, I can say something about our quarantine school. When we had quarantine, our school started off like everyone in other schools work at home, but it wasn't very good. And I think some another schools could make it better than our. For example, we didn't had anyone online lessons. For example, we could sit for a full day just looking on our computer or phone and waiting for our lessons, don't know when will it start or when will it happen, how and or when will happen our lesson. What with this in USA?
Yeah, so with my experience for online school, they had like a set schedule. So every day you would have, you know, I would have my math class from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then my next class 10:30 to 11:30 and so on. So there was like a strict schedule that teachers and students followed, which I mean, I guess was the main problem with yours, that there wasn't that schedule for meetings. But yeah, our meetings and lessons with teachers, they were on a schedule.
Yes, I agree with Timothy that it was our main problem, not for the first time, for the whole time of remote education, that you didn't know exactly would be this lesson or would not be, but you just check your phone one more time and believe in better. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
You had to sit and wait for the full day.
Mm.
Yes, you just waste your time, really, unfortunately. Thank you, Timothy. And Anne, you raise your hand, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have no questions. I would like to share with my experience as for my remote education at home. I have already finished school and now I'm choosing my future profession. Frankly speaking, it's difficult a little because when I went to school, I had a lot of hobbies, activities, and another one. Lastly, I interested in creative sphere, and I have already chosen professions like journalist and producer. I consider that these professions are so important in our life because if you know about our situation in Ukraine, now it's war, and so we are so afraid of the situation, and we need to get a lot of information about war and another problems in our country. And when I went to school, I had experience in remote education, and I started to learn English from Zoom. And before this time, it was so new for me because I have never learned something like this, and I had a lot of experience. It's so interesting, but I had a lack of communication, and I don't have enough time for rest because I spend a lot of time for tasks, because every day our teacher sent many tasks, and they insist on that we needed to do it by some exactly period. Thanks.
Yes, and thanks.
Completely agree.
Please, Dima, repeat, please.
I say I completely agree.
Yes, you
with
agree.
this girl.
Yes, with Anne. Yes, and I understand you because I too heard that our students at school got a lot of tasks, a lot of exercises, and they all together with their parents have to deal with it, have to write it, and just to learn new information just by yourself, using Google, using some videos on YouTube, just to understand how to solve these exercises or tasks. Yes, unfortunately, we have such experience in remote education.
No free time.
About free time, nobody told. Just like that. You don't need free time. You need to study. And maybe that's why our teachers send you a lot of tasks and exercises. Maybe like that. Okay, and really thanks for your speech. And the next will be Ruslan, after Ruslan Rosti.
I'm employers, so I changed my school, and I have to compare with. And in my old school, that is now destroyed, in first years of quarantine, we had to turn cameras on to speak, and we were organized so today you know what lessons you will have tomorrow and what lessons you will not. When I moved in West Ukraine and studied in other school, I saw that here is some disorganized schools, and I learned in one of them, and I saw one ritual, if I can say so. I can citate. It was English class, by the way. Cameras are turned off, microphones also, and from 30 people of class on lesson are 10, including the teacher. And I will state one teacher monologue. Roman, do you hear me? Roman, if you hear me, give me a sign if you hear me. And he didn't give a sign. And I want to ask about organization in US schools and how do you face these problems?
So I think Roman was probably asleep, like most of the students were. But in America during online school, most of the classes were, so we have classes of like around 30 people and one teacher. And so, most of the kids had their camera off, muted, and they spent their entire year of school like basically not saying a word. The teachers, they couldn't require that cameras were turned on and that people speak, because I think there was something about people having computers. They couldn't require people because I think it was they couldn't make people turn on their cameras because they didn't know if all kids had computers that had cameras, if that makes sense. So a lot of kids were getting out of doing that by saying, oh, my computer doesn't have a camera, it doesn't work, whatever. My school, it was mostly the teacher with their camera on and trying to give a lesson, but a lot of students that were kind of unresponsive. So they weren't talking, they weren't giving any questions, nothing, which made it very hard for the teachers. And like upon realizing that, I tried to do my best to, make the teachers feel like they're really teaching and they're not just giving lectures to a lot of like blank screens, which is, I think, very difficult to do. So yeah, it was more, it was very similar in America, to answer your question, but I think the teachers, definitely unlike Roman, were kind of more into giving the lessons.
Yes, it's our real experience of remote education. Okay, Rostik, please, you are the next.
I have a question. Can you talk about apps or some Google resources which help you in online school? Because in our country, sometimes teacher internet connection can be loose, or every time it's lights turn off. Do you have the same situation, or everybody had good internet connection?
So the internet was good most of the time, but sometimes there were issues with the internet, and then the services were down. So either Zoom wasn't working, or we used an app similar to Google Classroom, but not Google Classroom. Sometimes that app would crash and it wouldn't work. So when that happened, teachers would have us just look through our textbook. They made online copies of our textbooks in PDF format. So they would tell us, like, read these 10 pages of the textbook and come back to class ready to talk about it, or ready to learn about those pages. So they just had resources with the textbooks we were using mostly. Not really many apps necessarily, even though they did give us apps to try and use. None were really required. They were just giving us textbooks to read.
Yes, because in our country, teachers give a lot of tests. We have the platform which have a name Now Rock, or Svita is the most popular website in when we have remote education. And I think everybody have the situation when we are everybody on lessons and teacher asks the questions to one people, and he mute and didn't say anything. And when teacher say, I will put you bad number, and immediately they turn on their microphone and talk about anything, not true, but something.
Yeah.
Rosnik, I can say you what they do during this silent period. They just try to find something in Google and just to find something similar to such question, not the correct answer, just similar, and just say something. I think it was more suitable for students, but I hear from your experience, it's too about school experience, remote education.
Yes, everybody in lessons are muted, and nobody want to talk, and teacher put bad note, and she say, I don't know how to say it. She put a bad number, and that's all.
Yes, and that's all. In university, I can add that teachers try to improve such situation. Just add for us, do some tests or make presentations. For instance, for the first period of online education, for 1 week, I prepare, it's not a job, I prepared nearly 7 or 8 presentations for different subjects. Just sit and do what you watch now during our speaking club. But it was really awful. I just hate PowerPoint for this period, you understand?
Me too.
Yes, it's just our reality during this remote education. I don't know how making presentation will help me, but I really, for now, know how to work with it. Nathan, did you make presentations for the lesson?
Yeah, we all have to make presentations. Very, I don't know, not the best.
Have you strict rules to presentations, how to make it?
Most of the teachers gave us outlines for presentations, so we would just have to put in information. They would give us like one slide in the presentation would be the introduction, and then next we would have like a box to put all the text and write in. So they would give us outlines. They weren't just, yeah.
No, for me, we have some real strict rules. We have to put some important and base slides, and then you can put information. But there will not be a great amount of information, not a lot of pictures, and you combine it in more proper way. It would be seems more, I don't know how in perfect way, more adorable, just like that. It's our presentations. Okay, Ruslan, do you want to ask?
Yes, I want to agree for some requirements for presentations, and I want to add about tasks. Often on remote education, it was 9 p.m. I end my presentation and say, well, finally, I ended my tasks on tomorrow. I may go to sleep. And I want to add in our school, our presentations must be at least 7-8 slides with information, pictures.
Some tables, pictograms, yes.
Yes, and sources, websites or books where you took information from.
Yes, I agree with you. Rostik, please, you.
And the most very popular situation in remote education is when also we make a presentation. Everybody, when we have a task, everybody open Wikipedia and copy everything from this website, and pictures, by the way. And when we show this in share screen, we presentate it, and I say it, and next person have the same, and teacher
become angry.
Yes, every time.
I agreed with Rostik. Nice open.
Yes, it's a problem of using Wikipedia, and what is more worse, when you have to write some dates, some maybe low basis use. Just from my own experience, it was really awful because Wikipedia give not correct and useful information, and our teachers not just become angry, they become furious on us because we don't use the proper resources for our codex and the laws of other ways. Agree and plus, or everyone understands the situation. Okay.
But it's more easy to copy than write for yourself.
Of course.
Use some websites and some piece of this task. You can. Oh, okay, it's good.
Yes, it's more easy just to copy and to Control-Y, Control-C, Control-V, and use these tabs and go on. Yes. Okay, Anne, what do you want to say? And we will go further.
Oh, frankly speaking, as for me, it was so bored to prepare some presentation for some lesson because I spent a lot of time for important and necessary subject for me, and I knew that if I want to get positive grades, I need to do it, and all. In general, I prepared maybe 7 and or 10 slides and all. I found information in internet, for example, Google, Wikipedia, and another one. When I went to school, more of teacher didn't give such task because they exactly knew that it's so boring for some pupils.
It's not just boring. It's so sorry I interrupt you. It's not just boring. It's not so useful for you.
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely.
Yes, because you just copy information, but it doesn't matter if you understand it and if you remember it. You just use it. And unfortunately, it's true.
It's necessary for somebody. This person or other people can find and I don't know how to say. They can interest in some sphere and maybe for own interests. I don't know.
Yes, I agree. Okay, and Carolina give us some advantages of making presentations. So I read, I don't know why you all hate making presentations. It's really enjoyable to create something interesting and to find out some new facts about something. Carolina, I agree with you, but it all can be when you really pay enough attention to give the others real unique facts or unique information. And after that, I agree, making presentations can be more interesting and more enjoyable as you has written. But for the others, it's just a way making something for better grade. And that doesn't matter if this maybe information can be old or maybe you get it from some, I don't know, books from the 20th century. It doesn't matter for them. That's why if you really pay enough attention to your presentation, try to find something unique, rare, something unexpected. I agree, making presentations can be really great. Okay, and Nastya, I think each of us...
I agree with you, because if it's correctly useful for you, you can find this information and you can know about it. But if it isn't useful and it doesn't necessary for you, you can't do it. But for school, we needed to do it.
Yes, and
probably I think in such a way, because I don't make too much presentation to school like as task, but I make much more presentation like for my projects or like this, so that I really admire designing something and creating something. So yeah, probably I haven't had a really bad experience in that.
Yes, because you just try to make it unique. That's why it's more interesting from your side. Okay, guys, and by the way, at the end, I want to give you an opportunity, and I guess Nathan will be interested in some interesting facts about Ukrainian school system, how we have such lessons, how our school day goes on, or such like that. Nathan, you can see there are some pictures, they are real. That is our class, but this, it's more our common classes in each school. It's reality. Don't be afraid. Okay, guys, what can you say? Ruslan, please.
There aren't back tables with sleeping children.
Oh, really sorry, I can't find it. A picture, yes, of course, the main feature of each class in Ukraine, that in these last desks at the class, there will be people who fall asleep during each lessons. Have you the same in America?
Yeah, somehow they always fall asleep in the same class.
Okay, that is common feature of school. Okay, I understand it. Ruslan, thanks for you. One more feature of our schools. Yes, and eat, Carolina, how I forget it. Yes, okay, to be honest, on these last desks, these people do anything. Try anything, do anything, and yes, it's there is made the whole story for one class. For this last desks, I agree. And this teacher, yes, of course, you have to write the date, the topic of this lesson, and to listen carefully. There isn't any presentations, they are just speech from the teacher, and you try to understand and write. They can have party, Timothy. Yes, Timothy, you can say.
Yeah, and in my class it was a Ukrainian like intellect class, and we had a huge television on the top, and in our common classes we don't have nothing like presentations or something like that, only in books, but in more above graded schools we can have this TV, but it's really rare for us.
Yes, for some schools, even TV and really showing presentations can be really rare. Just for this time enough? Yes, I guess yes. It's too rare just for this year and this time. It's we just understand from such pictures, from such tables, and no one like really showing something from internet or YouTube videos. Yeah, it's so rare. What is the next Ukrainian school city? What about the hour big break? When you have enough 20 minutes, it's our the biggest break, and you can go to some buffets or to the nearest store and buy something to eat or drink. It's difficult to say that we buy something to eat. It's more about like some I don't know how to say it, more treatments. It's more about treatments, school treatments, but it's our two common feature of Ukrainian school. Carolina, what do you want to add?
I will tell something about that. So it's really common in some of our schools that some children like almost fight for this food. Like it sounds really strange, but we have lots of like these lines, queues to get some food. It's in big schools, and all the people want to be, all the students want to be the first to get this food and then to eat. And while we are eating, it's really loudly in this place, really noisy. So this atmosphere of school canteens is really unforgettable, and in some cases even unique. Like mostly we all eat like borscht or soup or like this. Then we also have a porridge with something, for example, with cabbage salad, probably. I don't know what else, and with fish, probably fried fish, and then we drink something like tea or juice. I don't know what it's a really individual what we eat, and now our this what we eat, our menus in canteens, it changed, but yeah, no, we don't attend this school, so it was not really a long time that we tried our new menu. Then also we have two these breaks for different ages, like for different students. Depends on their age and grade they're studying. After the second lesson, it mostly students from the primary school, and in the next students from the other like grades, because we have the schools under the same roof. As you know, in the USA, they are in there are different buildings for these schools, if I'm not mistaken, but we have it under the same roof, so that it's it's a bit difficult difficult to get to these canteens when there are lots of people. And then on the next break, as I said, it asks a group of students, and after it, all the students are satisfied, but not all, because some of them are still hungry. And lots of students go to shops. It's really, you are really lucky if you have a shop probably in front of your school, because I have it and I often go to it, and fortunately we are more or less allowed to do that. But as I know, in some schools it's not possible, it's forbidden. And yeah, these students are lucky who may do that. But mostly these students buy junk food, so that a lot of like parents and teachers, they don't think that it's a good idea to allow doing that. But in canteens, sometimes it's not possible to eat enough and to become not hungry anymore, and probably it may be expensive to pay for that. But in fact, it is not so, but probably some children don't enjoy this food, or don't want just to pay for that, so they may go buy something or take their own food. But yeah, it's more exceptions, I would say. It's really depends on school, on students. So yeah, these breaks and this atmosphere is really unforgettable.
Yes, I agree totally. It's just like a it can be like a whole story or tradition for one class, this going to the nearest shop, just like that. And Ruslan, you can add something really interesting about food in our schools.
I already wrote about food in school, and I want to talk more about breaks. In our school, we had 300 of children. 100 of them are 2 to 10 years old, and every break and even on lessons you can hear cries, shots, fighting, falls, and running. They are always running somewhere.
Yes, it's really difficult to go through our halls. You have to run. I don't know why, but you have to run. Nathan, is it common for your school halls?
Actually is. We don't have a buffet, but everyone runs to the cafeteria to get lunch. So they give out meals. They give out small like sandwiches, and everyone runs, and there's this giant line. And it's very funny because there are 2 doors. And so everyone runs to like either door, and then you can't walk through because there's a line of people. It's like a wall. It's outside the cafeteria. It's very funny. Yeah, I really like seeing it. I bring my own lunch, but it's very funny to see.
Yes, but Nathan, even more, we just run when we have to change the class, the audience to another lesson. We too run. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Why? Because you have to put yourself in the better place in this class. Yeah. Maybe to the last desk, or maybe to somewhere where you can hide from the teacher. That's why you have to run to another class. It's tradition. I guess, guys, you agree with me. It's tradition. Timothy, please, you want to add something?
Yeah, you have to be ready to run for that buffet where you will have huge fight, and I think we must have shields, because it's just image when every student from 1st till 11th class trying to have the eat. I can't forget that. It's too bad.
Nathan, it's real emotions from this atmosphere. It's real atmosphere. Yeah, I just, guys, I left school 5 years ago, but today I really just remind myself this all maybe the best memories of my life for this time. It's really so nice, because the whole part of my university life I spent at home with remote education, unfortunately, because from the 2nd year at the university we spent with remote education, and just these moments from school, or it's just pleasant for me and from my mind. It really was so nice and cute. Carolina, please. Carolina, micro.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the question, like I watched one movie and these students, they in this cafeteria, they were talking all the time and they mostly bring their own food or just take something in this cafeteria, and very often they may fight or like discuss something or especially when there is a love story. it's just a place for discussions probably, and so I really wanted to ask if it's the truth or it's only in movies or like this, if it's a reality or not.
Sorry, I think you cut out for the first part. Can you?
Yeah, I said that I watched one movie that in the USA, like in cafeteria, there are lots of discussions and like these, they bring, students bring their food or just take it in cafeteria, and then they may even fight or do like this. So it's the truth or no?
Some kids do get very crazy. There are like a lot of like supervising people to make sure that doesn't happen. They are like very strict with that, but it's very funny because sometimes it happens with my friends, and you see the teachers come and then you put everything down and you're all scared. It does happen. It's one of the funniest part of my time at school. Having I think the lunchtime is that break is the funniest part of my school time.
Yes, and I want to admit at the end that really at school we have maybe the best real moments and crazy things for our whole life, because it's really, you can do some things in the university, just believe me, you don't do it, unfortunately. It's not the same will be during your job or during your everyday life, but at school there were the craziest things you have ever can do or maybe make. Okay, so guys, for this topic we have a really great conversation, because a lot of you have just maybe great, maybe not good experience, but you have such experience, you know, you maybe have interested in something that you have heard from Nathan about USA system, school system, and maybe you will be more curious to continue your studies somewhere abroad. It will be also useful for you, and unfortunately we have to end it up. And maybe I guess if this topic will be more interested for you, we will invite something more similar to such topic, and maybe repeat such task and topic and go on with our experience and things if you are interested. And for the next Friday we will prepare something new. And so for now I just thanks for your activity, for your feedbacks. You are really today so nice, and you are welcome. And so goodbye for this time.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you, bye.
I would like to say thank you, Alina, for your such conversation, because now it's so important for everybody, because now it's so afraid situation. We need to communicate more, share with our experience and emotions. It's so appreciated.
Thanks for all your words. Really, we aim to support each other. We aim to just give you maybe just 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hours just to forget about anything in your surroundings, and to remind yourself something happy, something great things, or just like that. And Nathan just agreed to help me with it, and thank you too that you are ready to such task and we can do it. So thanks for you all, guys. Goodbye. Nathan, do you want to say?
No, yeah, I agree. It's very amazing to have the opportunity. to talk with everyone and get everyone's experiences, because there's nowhere else that I can learn anything about everyone's lives and everyone's similarities to my school. It's very cool. Very happy
Yeah,
that I-
thank you too. Goodbye. Have a
Okay,
good night.
bye.